was ticking along quite well. I've been having my regular midwife checkups, and they had actually, I think around 35 weeks, I think they'd said that the baby was breech, and then I think we sort of hoped that it would naturally turn itself. So I think from that point there was obviously initial mention of, you know, if the baby didn't turn, you'd be looking at a C-section. So obviously I was kind of going through all these things in my mind, thinking that that was, you know, initially something that I'd really wanted to avoid if possible. And then when it got to 37 weeks, the midwife confirmed that it was breech. So that, because things were getting a bit sort of later, it was kind of then looking at my options. It was either kind of just leave the baby and see if you know, if the baby would turn by itself, or you could have, yeah, obviously, you know, then the ECV was the kind of medical procedure that we could go ahead with, or more natural options. Yes. More natural options, which I was researching frantically, which was amoxibustion, reflexology, and I did look at spinning babies as well. I did quite a lot of head down on an ironing board and, you know, hanging off the sofa. So all those things I did sort of look into, but after a lot of kind of deliberating and, you know, working out what I really wanted, I decided actually to just put my faith in the ECV and use the hypnobirthing techniques that we had learnt in that process, in that procedure, and see if it would, and I made the decision to just do it once. I didn't want to sort of keep going back, because you can do it sort of 2 or 3 times, but I wanted to commit to doing it once, use hypnobirthing, see if that would have an effect, and yeah, try and sort of commit to doing it as calmly and as within the realms of the hypnobirthing as possible. And if it didn't work, then I had sort of made peace that, you know, baby didn't want to turn, so we'd just leave it. So, but it was successful. So when we went for the ECV, yeah, we had our appointment, we went in, and I think I pretty much started my preparation for it sort of a couple of days before, made the decision, made peace with that I was going to do that, obviously researched it and looked into, you know, watched a few YouTube videos. And it did look scary, actually. It looked painful, and lots of people were, you know, obviously you read what you want to read. There was quite a lot of negativity attached to it, and also quite a high, you know, non-success rate, which troubled me, I think. So anyway, I committed to doing it. We went in the night before. I spoke to Sakina and got downloaded some new material that she helped me with, specifically for sort of turning the baby. I kind of got an early night, tried to do some sort of meditations and, you know, my hypnobirthing breathing, and then on the day of the appointment, kind of almost approached it a little bit like we were going in to have the baby, which was quite nice in a weird way, because it was almost like a bit of a dress rehearsal, which was quite cool. So really kind of, even it maybe sounds silly, but even on the way there in the car, I had my headphones in, I was listening to all my, I was listening to the, you know, the training that we'd done, and the, you know, the breathing techniques. I picked a few specifically that I felt would be good for the, you know, for that procedure. And yeah, just had my headphones in, my husband drove me there. And then got there and I was kind of like, right, this is what it will be like, because we're suddenly thrust into this kind of very medical environment, and, you know, met the nurse, they explained what they were going to do, went into the room, and I sort of just said to them there and then, I was, you know, it took a bit of courage, because I don't know if they'd really experienced, well, I'm sure they have, but somebody saying, well, I want to use my hypnobirthing techniques for this procedure. So I had to be quite confident and assert myself to say that from, you know, arrival. But they were great, and they, you know, I just said I really wanted to try and do it in a really calm way and to see if that would help things, you know. So I asked them to turn the radio off, and the lights were dimmed because they were obviously really quite harsh lighting. and then I put my headphones in, and they left me for about 20 minutes beforehand to get into the zone because they had to go and do other bits and pieces. But it was great because I just sat there, did all my breathing, and so by the time the doctor came in, I was really in the zone, and I just followed it through. And they, you know, they came in and started to do the turn. And I mean, it is really just very physical, and you know, they give you an injection to, which obviously I wanted to know about, but it is purely just to sort of loosen the muscles and just relax you. So you do, you know, you might feel a little bit queasy or a bit dizzy, or actually I think I remember my heart increased slightly, but that was all normal. And then they just literally, put the hands on me and start to turn. And I was so in the zone and committed to the breathing, and she turned really, really quickly. Within 20 seconds. And the doctor said she was kind of astounded really at how quickly she had turned. So it was really nice, and like I felt like it was a real high in the, you know, looking back, it was a real high. I left there feeling so excited that we'd managed to do it, and you know, but I do think having sort of made peace with whatever, you know, is easy maybe to say now, but I think I made peace before, thinking if she didn't turn, that at least we tried in you know, using the tools in the best way possible, in the calmest environment possible. And if she didn't want to turn, I think I was like, well, I'm not going to push it again. That was my personal choice. But yeah, we were lucky, and it worked. And whether, you know, whether it would have worked had I gone in there feeling anxious and stressed, I personally believe it might not have. I think my body was in the best state possible it could be in, and I think we put ourselves in the best possible situation for it to work. So I mean, the way I see it is it's worth a try. If nothing else, it's you know, it's worth doing it with all those tools in place. And it was, like I say, a nice little practice for the real day. Yeah, so that's that. So at 40 plus, I was 40 weeks plus 5, and had to face the decision of an induction. And I think the two things that I'd feared the most from when I started the hypnobirthing journey was, three things I feared the most was having a breech baby, facing the ECV, and then obviously induction and having a C-section. So I had to face two out of 3 because I had to face the ECV, and then it got to the point where I needed to make a decision about having an induction. At 40 plus 5, I was on this cusp where they basically were saying they offer, if you're a low risk, if you're a low risk pregnancy, you have this option where you can be what they call have an outpatient induction, which essentially means you go in to have the induction, the pessary inserted, and then you can, if they're happy and you know that all is fine, you get to go home, and then you effectively start your labour in the most natural way, as if it had just come on naturally, and then you go into hospital when things get moving. So that was the thing. So if I left it if I said no, actually I'm going to just leave this completely naturally, I would then, if I then chose to have an induction, that would be fully in a hospital. So for me, it just got to that point where I really wanted to, I wanted to do it at home. I wanted to be able to start the labour at home and do all the things that we'd learned in hypnobirthing. I wanted to be able to start that process at home in the most calm and happy way. So I decided, fine, we'll go for it. So I had the pessary inserted, got sent home, and then pretty much started with the contractions that night. I basically said to my husband, right, if this is happening, then kind of forget that we've had an induction and pretend that we are literally, we wake up in the middle of the night or in the morning and we start this process as if, this is just completely natural. And that's really how it happened and how it kind of, you know, how it came about. So we did sort of set the scene before we went to bed, really. And I knew the next day that I wanted to kind of, you know, wake up, have a really calm day, light candles, close the blinds, do all those things that we'd sort of talked about and practiced as part of our birth story. And I'm really glad that I did, you know, that I chose that option. I'm really, really glad, because it did give me some power back. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't have been able to you know, create the same, you know, do some of the same things if we were in hospital, because I think having had the ECV and knowing that I kind of created those things, you know, a great environment during that process, we would. But I do think being able to go home was just the icing on the cake, really, and that's something I'm really pleased that I could do. So my 3 top tips for pregnant ladies. So number 1, I would say practice and visualize how your labour, how you want your labour to go. Right down to imagining it starting. What would be the first thing you'd do? Sort of imagine yourself in your house, or if you're out and about, imagine, right, so I'm feeling something, I'm gonna, you know, you've got a choice. You can either, you know, maybe without hypnobirthing you might go into a mad panic or ring or text everybody, or you could choose to put on one of your breathing podcasts and your breathing techniques, audios, and just get into the zone. So just kind of like, yeah, I'd practice it, because I really did, and it really helped me. So when it actually finally happened, it just felt quite as familiar as it could be. So that would be the first one. Top tip 2, I would say, and I don't want this to sound like smug or annoying, but I do think it is key, and it does go unnoticed. I'd be as fit as you can be physically. I don't mean go to the gym every day, but literally just have a half an hour walk every day, and promise yourself you'll do it right up until you can, because it's such a physical thing. And I really thought, yeah, it surprised me, and I'd say I'm quite a fit person, but it surprised me how physical and knackering it is. And if you do walk every day, then you're also doing wonders for your mental health, and I really needed that. I needed to get out every day and get some fresh air. So that would be my second tip. And my final 3rd tip would be to practice some form of either breathing or meditation before you go to sleep. So pretty much every day when I was, well, certainly from when I started the hypnobirthing course, I put on a I had Sakina's voice in my ears every night before I went to sleep. Now, I probably only lasted 10 seconds before I fell asleep because I was so tired, but I still believe that is going into your subconscious while you sleep. I swear by it, and I think it just, was really, really relaxed, and it's just a nice way to fall asleep. But I think it slowly builds and builds, so yeah, do that every day. So the favourite part of my birth, well, yeah, I mean, it has to be that, it's quite, it's graphic, but it's the bit where the head comes out, because you feel like you're almost there, and you are almost there, and everybody, there's just like a real, there is actually like a real excitement in the room. Everybody, you see this little face and this head that's out, and you just, you're there, and it's like, it's the most kind of real moment as well. You're like, you just cannot believe that this little human head has arrived. So everything else post that, you just think, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and you basically have. So yeah, that'd be my special moment. I think my one thing I would do differently, again, if I have my time again, is to give myself a break, to be honest, and not research everything and Google everything and try and be control of everything. Just allow yourself to just be, and know, if you're going to invest any energy, put it into your breathing every day and your meditation. Don't waste your time trying to find the answers, because looking back, whatever I researched, whatever I thought was going to happen, everything didn't happen that way. It all happened differently. So yeah, just use the things that you can, you know, really rely on, you know, the practical things that you're building and the tools that you've got. Yeah, so I'd probably just be a bit kinder to myself.